Whiplash. A film that really should need no introduction, but for the unfamiliar, I'll give you a quick rundown. Whiplash is about this guy, named Neiman, and we follow his journey as he is tormented by the most evil man ever put to film. But he's got good intentions, so it's okay, right? There's a lot of words I would use to describe Whiplash, but the first one that would probably come to mind is stressful. Now, that might seem like a bit of a strange word to describe a film that I actually love, but I mean it in the absolute best way. This film is stressful, in a good way. Usually when I'm watching a film, I tend to take a break and look at my phone, maybe just check my notifications, see if I have any messages when the film is going, maybe one of the slower scenes. But I'll never forget Whiplash because I cannot remember a single time in this film where I stopped watching, where I checked out for any moment. From start to end, I was in this film. And there's a good reason for that. Whiplash is a film that you cannot look away from. And I think a big part of the reason for that is because of how invested this film makes you get. Neiman's story is just a roller coaster. And the film puts a lot of work into making sure you are feeling exactly what he is feeling. And thus, you need to see what happens to him because it is stressful as hell. This comes down to a lot of things, the music, the directing, but mainly I want to focus on the editing. There's a reason that this film won Best Editing in 2015. Its editing is very well done, and it is great at not only keeping you invested, but making you feel exactly what Neiman is feeling. Good or bad. The editing in this film is a mixed bag, and I mean that in a good way. It's not always one thing. Some scenes are fast, some are slow, like in any film. But no matter what, this film always seems to just do perfect at whatever it is trying to capture, whether that is pure stress or absolute thrill. But enough talking. Let me just show you exactly what I mean.
Maybe it's time to finally bring this home. What do you say? Show me.
In this scene, we see Neiman as he is trying to earn his part, competing against two other drummers, and performing for the, again, most horrifying man to ever be put to screen. The cuts in the scene are actually a lot slower than a lot of other scenes like this in the movie, but I think there's a very good reason for that. The cuts are done very intentionally, and they build so much goddamn suspense. Just cutting from him to Fletcher, Neiman to Fletcher, Neiman to Fletcher. And this is done to show exactly how Neiman is feeling. He is trying to juggle two things here, his drumming and his evil band teacher. Basically, he's trying to perform perfectly while his hands are literally bleeding and a man is throwing shit at him, and he has to constantly keep his attention on both. These cuts let us know exactly how he's feeling and what he's paying attention to, and they make us just as stressed as he is. Well, maybe not as stressed, but you get the idea. A bit later in the movie, Neiman is rushing to get his things together and get on stage to perform, because if he doesn't, he will lose his spot in the band forever. So the stakes here are immediately set very high, and the film capitalizes on that. Instead of the slow, tense, uneasy editing seen in the last scene, here we are going full-on Soviet montage. Cut, 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 cut. We are just zooming through it, because that is exactly how Neiman is feeling right now. The minutes pass by like seconds. We see every little move he makes in quick succession, just as he is rushing as fast as he can to get his things together. Both scenes are stressful, don't get me wrong, but whereas the first scene makes me sick and uneasy, this scene is an absolute rush of adrenaline. And then of course, this happens. So yeah, that didn't work out for him very well. On a lighter note, though, let's move on to the final scene of the film. One of my personal favorites, and a great example of how Soviet montage can be used to elevate a scene. After being beat to an absolute pulp throughout the entire movie, Neiman finally gets his big break. And you can just feel it. It is absolutely exhilarating, this scene. And a large part of that is, of course, the editing. Whereas the cuts in the first scene felt uneasy and just out of pace, the cuts in this scene feel perfect. They are on time with the music, beat after beat, and it fits. It feels like a music video. It is thrilling, and it is exactly what Neiman is feeling. He is at the height of his game. He is playing perfectly, and he is not missing a single note. And we don't know that because we are told it. We know that because the editing shows it to us. We can tell through every single cut that he is on time, on tempo, and he has never been better. And it really elevates the scene. Whereas the last two made you feel stressed for Neiman, this one just makes you feel awesome. This scene is very different from the last two scenes. I feel like that goes without saying, but it still achieves the same effect. You can feel exactly what Neiman feels. Not anxiousness, but euphoria. This scene feels amazing, and it is the perfect scene to cap off an amazing movie. And a lot of that is thanks to the editing. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Oh, fuck, that's stupid. Whereas the last two scenes editing made it so, fuck. Here it is just absolute wave of fuck. That's what the game is.